Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to Jets Media. This is Richie. In this video, I want to tell you guys why the New York Jets are the winners of the 2022 NFL Draft and give you guys my draft grade for each individual pick and then my overall draft grade for the entire 2022 New York Jets draft class. I am so hyped up what Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh and all the staff that was involved in these draft selections, what they were able to pull off getting all these players. I am super amped up. We got a lot of fun on this channel throughout this weekend. We were live throughout the entire NFL draft, and I want to say thank you for everybody showing support here in Jets Media all throughout draft weekend and all throughout the channel in general. I really do appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in, hitting the like button, sharing your thoughts down below, and just tuning into the channel, man. It really means a lot that we got an awesome Jets community here on Jets Media, on Twitter, on Instagram, all over the place. I really just want to say thank you so much for sticking with Jets Media. And with that being said, let's get right into my thoughts of the 2022 draft class. So before we get into each individual player, let's just talk about this as a whole real quick, because going into the draft, we knew that there was a lot of needs that needed to be addressed. And I feel like what the New York Jets did and what Joe Douglas's approach was to be absolutely aggressive to make sure that they get their guy, not being, passive of, all right, let's trade down and get more picks for the future. They wanted to go all in. Joe Douglas made 2 trades in the draft, and both of them were giving up capital to move up. He did not make one trade to move back to get more capital for this year and even next year, which is something that Joe Douglas is known to be doing, is trying to get capital for the future. He always has that mind in the future. We saw last year him trade up, be aggressive for Elijah Vera Tucker, and now we see this year trading up, being aggressive for Jermaine Johnson, trading up, being aggressive for Breece Hall. So what this is telling me is that Joe Douglas is getting all this capital to make sure that he has the ammunition to get the guys that he feels like is going to be difference makers for this New York Jets team, not only this year, but for the future down the line of all these guys developing under head coach Robert Saleh and LaFleur and Ulbrich. I'm pumped up. I feel like Jets fans could not have asked for a better draft class to go into the 2022 season. And what was the main theme of this draft? Surrounding Zach Wilson. That's what it's been for the past 2 years. Last year, we draft Zach Wilson at number 2 overall. The next 3 picks are offense. This year, we draft more offensive players than defensive players. So that is obvious that Joe Douglas is doing everything in his power to make sure that Zach Wilson is spoiled and surrounded by the most playmakers and protection as possible. So now, with that being said, let's get into the first selection of the draft, which was at number 4 overall, Sauce Gardner, cornerback from Cincinnati. Now, I've said countless times that Sauce has been one of, if not my favorite prospect in this entire draft months and months and months ago, and I did so much homework on him. I'm like, wow, Sauce in New York would be insane. But for whatever reason, I just never thought that it would be the pick for the New York Jets at number 4. I always heard Joe Douglas and Saleh prioritize the trenches. I always heard them say how much they value the trenches on offense and defense. And I'm like, there's no way they're not going to take a player at number 4 that's not on the offense or defensive line. I just felt like it was going to be either Kayvon Thibodeau, Jermaine Johnson, Ikem Ekwonu, one of those guys in the trenches at number 4. And if Sauce was available at 10, then I was considering, which I knew Sauce was probably not going to get there at 10. But Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh said afterwards, and they said on the phone with Sauce, that he was always their guy. They're holding their breath throughout the entire first 3 picks. Please, Sauce, fall to us. Please, Sauce, fall to us. And that's exactly what happens. They get their guy in Sauce Gardner, who is a player that is the best corner in the NFL draft. Now, yes, Derek Stingley did go right before him, so he was the second cornerback drafted, but everybody is saying that Sauce Gardner is the best corner in the draft because he has 3 years in Cincinnati without giving up 1 touchdown. He's a player that fits the Robert Saleh system better than you can ever imagine. He's built like a cornerback that you just don't see all the time. He is 6'3". He's long. He's lengthy. He is athletic. He's physical. He can tackle in open field. He is a perfect fit for this defense. Think Richard Sherman in his prime. When Richard Sherman was with the Seattle Seahawks in that Pete Carroll days with the Legion of Boom, Robert Saleh was there, and the New York Jets run a similar style of defense to that Pete Carroll system. Not the same exact thing, but the base cover 3 scheme that Robert Saleh is implementing here. So Richard Sherman in his prime is what we're hopeful that Sauce Gardner can become. Now, is it guaranteed that Sauce Gardner will become that good? We do not know, but there's no denying that he is a phenomenal prospect and has everything you want in that 4th overall pick. When you're investing into a player and you're drafting in the top 4, you want them to be able to check off all the boxes of obviously having a lot of talent and upside on the field, but off the field, he has that confidence, he has that swagger, he has that humbleness to him, and he has that demeanor to him where you feel like he wants to be great. He feels like he's the best player in the draft, and he has everything you want in a player to develop in that secondary. Now, all of a sudden, the New York Jets have 2 brand new corners that are going to be starting in Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, and the depth behind them is ridiculous. Bryce Hall and Brendan Eccles are coming off last year being the starters, and now they're going to be backing them up. So if any of those players have to go down with an injury, I got a lot of confidence in Bryce Hall and Brendan Eccles filling in for them. So the secondary is all of a sudden becoming one of the most strongest suits for this New York Jets team for the future, especially with the depth. So Sauce Gardner, I give this an A+ personally, because they got, some people say, the best player in the draft. They definitely got the best corner in this draft, and they were able to get Sauce. And now let's get into number 10 with Garrett Wilson, wide receiver from Ohio State. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Robert Saleh spoke to Janine Coakley from SNY in an interview the other day, and Robert Saleh said, if the Atlanta Falcons drafted Garrett Wilson at number 8 instead of Drake London, then the New York Jets would have drafted Jermaine Johnson at number 10. So the fact that the New York Jets were able to get Garrett Wilson and Jermaine Johnson is mind-boggling. So let's get into Garrett Wilson as a prospect. Obviously, the New York Jets had Garrett Wilson as their number 1 receiver in this draft. They wanted him. I feel like they were zeroing in on, if Garrett Wilson's available at number 10, he's going to be the pick, because he's the only receiver that I feel like they had such a high grade on that they would invest a first-round pick into. Garrett Wilson could be very good immediately. What Garrett Wilson possesses is exactly what this New York Jets team needs. Now, you guys heard me on this channel always talk about the Jets need to get a big-time receiver with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis and Braxton and Denzel Mims. Whether that is in free agency, whether that is in the trade market, or in the NFL draft, the New York Jets decided to invest a 10th overall pick in the future number 1 receiver in Garrett Wilson. Everything that he possesses is number 1 receiver qualities. He has speed. He has athleticism. He has footwork. His route running is disgusting. He has that flashiness to him. He has that humble demeanor to him with inner confidence that he can become the number 1 option for Zach Wilson for the foreseeable future. There's some NFL analysts saying that Garrett Wilson could be having a Justin Jefferson-like rookie season. Now, I don't want to expect that. I'm not going to sit here and say that Garrett Wilson has to have over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns and be like one of the best rookie receivers in the league this year, even though it is possible, but I just don't want to put that expectations on a rookie that was drafted in the first round, because you never know that he's going to have his rookie bumps. But I feel like the Jets just got the best wide receiver in the draft, and I'm so pumped up because Garrett Wilson, combined with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis being that veteran, with Braxton Berrios in the slot and Denzel Mims being a depth option, this wide receiver room is deep, it's young, and it's exciting. And Garrett Wilson is going to become a fan favorite immediately. He's going to have those flashy plays where he goes up and grabs it out of the air. He's great after the catch. He can make people miss in open space. He has speed where you can give him on end arounds and make people miss. He's just a guy that's going to become a fan favorite for the New York Jets. And him and Elijah Moore are going to be fighting for that number 1 role in this New York Jets offense. And the great thing about it is there really isn't a number 1 role when you're becoming a wide receiver in this scheme. So Garrett Wilson is just going to be a perfect complement to Elijah Moore and Corey Davis and all the other guys. And I feel like Zach Wilson is going to do his thing with Garrett Wilson, developing that Wilson to Wilson chemistry. I'm giving this an A+ as well. I'm trying not to be biased, but it's really hard not to be when you see what the Jets were able to accomplish. They got the best wide receiver in the draft and addressed a gigantic need at wide receiver, adding to the position with Elijah Moore. So I'm giving it an A+. Now, getting into pick number 26, the New York Jets made a trade up. They packaged 35, 69, and 163 to move up back into the first round, and they get pick 26, and they get pick 101, and Jermaine Johnson was the pick. Now, if you guys saw my reaction, mine and Jack's reaction, actually, we were pumped up because Jermaine Johnson was always the guy that we really felt like was destined to be a New York Jet. I was okay with taking Jermaine Johnson at pick 4. I was okay with taking Jermaine Johnson at pick number 10, and the Jets were able to get him at pick 26. I have no idea how he dropped all the way to the 26, but weirder things happen in the NFL draft. Happens every year. Players always fall. So for the Jets to get this, on top of him as a player, the value is incredible to get an edge rusher that fits the Robert Saleh defense more than anything else. The interview with Jermaine Johnson and Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas went so well, where Jermaine Johnson left one Jets drive and told Joe Douglas, come and get me. And what did Joe Douglas do? He came and got him. When the Jets were sitting back after they drafted Garrett Wilson, they were celebrating for a little bit, and then all of a sudden the 15th pick was on the clock and Joe Douglas was on the phone. He called every single team after 15, 16, 17, 18 decline. Joe Douglas was relentlessly trying to trade up to get their guy in Jermaine Johnson. Robert Saleh was making sure that Joe Douglas did that, and Joe Douglas got it done. All of a sudden, we get to pick number 26, and Joe Douglas makes the trade with the Tennessee Titans. If you guys saw the video, Joe Douglas was pumped up. He dropped the F-bomb. He's like, we're on the effing clock. everyone's pumped up. They get their guy Jermaine Johnson, and Jermaine Johnson is going to be that pass rusher that Robert Saleh can develop for the future. And the reason why Jermaine Johnson was such an important piece of this defense is because we all know that the 4-3 scheme that Robert Saleh is implementing here with Jeff Ulbrich is all about getting to the quarterback. It's all about making life miserable for the quarterback. That's what this defense is all about. And not only is Jermaine Johnson has so much upside as a pass rusher, but he's also so good at stopping the run as well, which is why this is such a home run pick for the New York Jets. Building on the trenches, the defensive line is absolutely stacked right now, and Jermaine Johnson, in my opinion, is the cherry on top to the greatest first round in Jets history, potentially. I'm giving this an A+. The A pluses are all 3 trifectas in the first round. Everybody around the NFL as well is saying that the Jets won the first round. It's not just me, and I'm sure you guys can agree that the New York Jets hit an absolute home run in the first round. Now, talking about this next player, the best part about this is that Joe Douglas tried to trade back into the first round again to get this player to come away with 4 first-round picks. Can you imagine that? But it's all good because Joe Douglas still got him, and he did make a trade to make sure it happened. In the beginning of the second round, Joe Douglas makes a trade with the New York Giants to hop over the Houston Texans to take running back Breece Hall from Iowa State. And what this tells me is Joe Douglas is not afraid to sacrifice capital. He gave up his 5th-round pick just to move up 2 slots. He knew that the Houston Texans loved Breece Hall so much that the only way that he's going to be a Jet is if we make this trade, sacrifice a 5th-round pick. I do that in instinct to get the #1 running back in this entire draft class in Breece Hall. Now, Breece Hall is a player that is absolutely going to make this offense a completely different animal because I love Michael Carter. I thought Michael Carter is going to be the #1 running back for this Jets team for the future, but nope, it's going to be Breece Hall and Michael Carter. Now, this is not a knock on Michael Carter at all. This is just a perfect dynamic of the two. If you guys saw what Michael Carter did in his collegiate career at UNC, he had Javonte Williams. He's used to be sharing a backfield with the star. We see what Javonte Williams has been doing in his rookie season with Denver. He is a star running back. So now the New York Jets get the best running back in the draft, and you can make all different comparisons with Breece Hall, but he is everything you want. There's not a weakness to his game, in my opinion. He's a home run hitter. He's a 3-point shooter. He can take the distance. He can take the ball 80 yards to the house whenever he wants. He's a guy where he's a 3-down back. You can feed him the rock. He's a workhorse. He reminds me of Jonathan Taylor, to be honest. I'm not saying he's going to be like Jonathan Taylor, but Jonathan Taylor was a 2nd-round pick for the Colts, and Jonathan Taylor, as we know, is one of, if not the best running backs in the entire NFL, and it has a lot to do with that offensive line in the system down in Indianapolis. But I feel like his potential, Breece Hall, is astronomical. This is the best running back prospect that the Jets have had in a long time. And now the fact that we have him with Michael Carter and the veteran Tevin Coleman and having Ty Johnson still on the roster and LaMichael Pirine, this running back room is deep, and we're going to be running the hell out of the football, especially with this offensive line. I'm giving this an A. I know that some Jets fans feel like, well, we had a lot of other holes on this roster. I'd rather the Jets go safety or linebacker here. Nakobe Dean was available. There's other players available. But what this tells me that Joe Douglas is going all into making sure that Zach Wilson's job is as easy as possible, giving him the playmakers and making sure that we can get a run game, because we have to establish a run game to help out Zach Wilson to open up the pass game and the play action game and all that stuff. So Breece Hall, absolutely love that pick. Was shocked when they were on the clock. I had a feeling like the best running back is available. If the Jets want to get crazy and surround Zach with the most weapons possible, that's going to be the pick, and that's exactly what happened. Now, moving on to the next selection at pick 101 at the back end of the 3rd round, this might be one of my favorite draft picks of the entire class. And it's hard to say which one is my favorite because I love a lot of them, but that's Jeremy Ruckert, tight end from Ohio State, the Long Island native, grew up in Lindenhurst, went to Lindenhurst High School, which is like 15-20 minutes from me, and he grew up a Jets fan. He's literally living the dream like I had as a kid, like any of you guys had as a kid. You're playing football in your backyard with your friends or your dad or your uncle, whoever you're playing with. You catch a touchdown in the backyard. You're just imagining yourself on the New York Jets. Like, that's your childhood dream. And Jeremy Ruckert is living that dream that we all had as kids. And it's just awesome to see his family's reaction when he got drafted. And not only him as a Jets fan, right? That's just a little plus. But him as a prospect, right? You see what he did at Ohio State. There's so many weapons around him, and Garrett Wilson is now a New York Jet. Chris Olave, the running game, the offensive line. He did not get an opportunity to show off what he can do in the passing game. Jeremy Ruckert is known to be a dominant run blocker. That's what he was known to be at Ohio State, being able to move people in the run game. And that's what's so good about this pick, is because we have Tyler Conklin, we have CJ Uzomah. Jeremy Ruckert is going to be that prodigy that's developing behind them to take over the reins as the #1 tight end for the future. He's going to be involved in the offense early on. If any of those two players go down with an injury, which is likely because injuries happen, especially with CJ Uzomah, who's up there in age, and Tyler Conklin, who's a veteran, if any of those guys get nicked up, what this draft pick does is for this year, it gives the Jets flexibility and depth for him to move up. And also, this pick is for the future. It's giving Zach Wilson every single opportunity. The Jets are trying to run a lot of 12 personnel, which requires 2 tight ends. So, like I said, this is depth. This is a pick that told me that the New York Jets are investing everything that they could to get their guy in Zach Wilson to have as many weapons as possible. Love this pick. I really wanted to come away with this draft with at least 1 tight end, either McBride or Jeremy Ruckert. Those are my 2 favorite tight ends in this draft class. McBride went to Arizona, but it's all good because we get the Long Island native Jeremy Ruckert. Now, I got this letter grade as an A-. Absolutely love this pick for the New York Jets. Now, getting into the final 2 picks on day 3, starting off with Max Mitchell. We took him at pick 111. Max Mitchell, the offensive tackle from Louisiana. This was a really good pick for the New York Jets simply because we need a swing tackle. We need offensive line depth. And now this is a player that was the highest graded PFF offensive tackle in the entire college football last year, according to PFF, 94.8. He's versatile. He can play left tackle, right tackle. He's experimenting at guard. He's even experimenting at center. So he's a versatile piece that is raw. He is going to be building into his body. And I feel like this is Joe Douglas's vision of trying to get a guy to develop behind George Fant and Mekhi Becton to eventually either take over as a starting tackle next year, or if one of those guys go down, he can get some burn as a rookie behind Becton or behind Fant if one of those two goes down, unfortunately. So what this tells me is that Joe Douglas is investing in the trenches. I wanted this to be the pick because if we came out of the draft class without drafting 1 offensive lineman, I would have been concerned. I'd rather the Jets go offensive line here than going any other position, in my opinion. I know that some Jets fans really are upset that we did not get a linebacker or a safety, but I personally rather the Jets go offensive line and defensive line in the back end of the draft, simply because that's what it's all about, is the trenches, and they obviously think highly of the linebacker and safety room. So I'm giving this grade a B+. I feel like it was a home run pick for the Jets simply because he was really high on their board. They had Chris Nolan, who scouted him months ago, call him and make the draft pick, which was awesome. And they're getting their guy, who they feel like is a versatile piece who has a lot of room to grow in the system, in Max Mitchell. Now, getting into the final pick of the 2022 draft class, Michael Clemons, edge rusher from Texas A&M. This is a violent, physical player that is going to be developing under Robert Saleh. And now all of a sudden, the defensive line depth chart is ridiculous. The rotation is going to be going from 1 to 10. I feel like we might go into the year with 10 active players on this defensive line. That's how deep we are. And it's going to be awesome because if one of those players goes down like a Lawson or a Bryce Huff, we have Michael Clemons who can develop into that role to be getting to the quarterback. He plays with an edge to him. He plays with physicality. He has that different energy to him. Now, this isn't my favorite pick. I didn't really know too much about Michael Clemons when we took him, actually. I had to do a little more research, and there were some red flags. He had a couple arrests. So this wasn't my favorite draft pick. It wasn't really like that character guy that I'm expecting from Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh to bring in, especially if he was suspended for a game. But they feel like that all those mistakes are in the past, and they feel like that he is going to be a guy that can develop and have that violent edge to him. You can tell that Robert Saleh really likes those players that plays with an edge and plays with violence. And if you look at his tape, man, he is a violent pass rusher. When he gets his hands on the quarterback, he throws him to the ground. I give this grade a B for the Michael Clemons pick, and then my overall letter grade for the 2022 draft class is an A. I cannot ask for a better draft class. I personally cannot. I know that some Jets fans are going to say, well, Richie, it's not perfect. We did not get a linebacker. We did not get a safety. Me personally, I'd rather the Jets get more weapons for Zach Wilson than address a linebacker or a safety. I think that Quincy Williams is a player that's going to prove a lot of people wrong, and I feel like the safety depth, it's not perfect, but you cannot address every single need in the NFL draft or the offseason. Obviously, we're going to have some weaknesses going in. I absolutely love the first round and Sauce, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson, getting the best cornerback in the draft, the best wide receiver in the draft, the best running back in the draft, and according to Chris Sims, the best tight end in the draft. Chris Sims has Jeremy Ruckert as his #1 tight end. Chris Sims also has Jermaine Johnson as a top 2 edge rusher in his board. So the Jets hit an absolute home run in this draft. I know this was a longer video. Let me know your thoughts down below of this draft class. Give me your letter grade, and I also want to know if you guys stayed until the end of the video, so comment down below a jet emoji, and yeah, give me your letter grades down below of each individual player if you want, or just give me your overall letter grade. Love to hear what you guys have to say, and please do not forget to like the video if you guys enjoyed. It really helps out the channel a ton. Yeah, that does it for this video. Breaking down the 2022 draft class. Cannot have asked for a better class in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll catch you guys in my next one. Let's go Jets! Peace.